is Rich Akulski, Chair of the NWA Specialized Ops Committee and MIC of the NWS office in Caribou, soon to be MIC of the NWS office in Columbia, South Carolina. He will be presenting today on how to make a great annual meeting poster. If during the presentation you have a question, feel free to ask via the GoToWebinar itself, or you may tweet your question using hashtag NWAWebWed. That's NWAWEBWED. We will address all questions at the end. We'll also have some representatives from the NWA Social Media Committee live tweeting during the webinar. As always, a huge thank you to Tim Bryce, Jonathan Bellis, and Trevor Boucher for their help. As another note, Trevor will be using hashtag NWAWebWed after the conclusion of the presentation to demo Periscope, so please be sure to check that out. Thank you all for joining us, and without further ado, I will turn it over to Rich. Give me just a second while I make Rich the presenter. All right. Rich, are you there? We don't hear you. If you're saying anything.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. All right. Well, good afternoon to those of us on the East Coast. Good morning to everybody else. I know that most of us have done a poster for a professional association meeting, whether it's the National Weather Association, American Meteorological Society, or other professional venue. And you know, I've done my share over the last 20 years or so, and I sat in and listened to a similar presentation that I'm going to give this afternoon from someone hired by the American Meteorological Society back about 6 months ago, and Ken Carey brought that to my attention, and I've adapted her information to the NWA. My experience of going to my first NWA annual meeting was in 2002, and other than a couple hits and misses and then the dark years when we had either no money or the government was shut down, I've been going to the annual meetings in a leadership capacity really for about the last 14 years. So without further ado, I'm going to bring my slideshow up and we'll start. All right. I'm the MIC at Caribou right now. 2 months from now, I'll be down south. So anyway, here we go. Webinar goals. Prepare and design your poster. This is the part where it's labor intensive on your part as the presenter. And then how to present your poster during your session. I've seen different approaches over the years by poster presenters, and you know, sometimes the environment in which you're working, depending on the size and the noise and the setup, can be a challenge to work through. The best poster session setup that I've seen was in Oklahoma City last year for the 40th meeting, 40th annual meeting of the NWA. I think Janice and the crew there did a fantastic job setting up the venue to maximize the opportunity to present. And then I'll open it up to questions and answers. And there's also a participative session where Tricia and I have teamed up, and you can attack the posters that we've done in the past to say what works and what doesn't work, and just use your input from the GUI in the webinar and the go-to meeting to provide your comments. And you're not going to hurt anybody's feelings. You know, we're all meteorologists, so we have had to develop thick skins over the years. So as long as you're not attacking my forecast, you're just attacking my poster, I don't have a problem. All right, moving on. What is a poster? And this gave me some deep thought while I was putting this together, listening to the other presentation that was put. And some of these things, you know, yeah, I've given some thought to, and you know, when I put together posters, but never in its entirety. And what it is a summary of your findings with regards to either applied research or a new technique, a case study. Case studies are quite popular. And then decision support or social science. And I've been leading the team for the Norfolk meeting in terms of putting together poster sessions and the collective thought, and I had a science officer on the team, a couple forecasters, and we broke it down into those broad areas. If you think about it, and pretty much when I reviewed close to 200 abstracts for posters over the last several months, they could be broken down into those categories. It also encourages attendees to learn more. One of the great things about going to a professional association meeting is that you get to see new information from your peers that you may not have thought of, or perhaps you're working on something similar and it gives you insight to solve some of the challenges you have that are similar to what's being presented. You engage your fellow scientists. You're used to working in the same group. Maybe you work in a regional or headquarters or a national center and group with other agencies, something like Norman comes to mind, or Miami with the tropical environment, that you have a larger group of scientists. But sometimes you don't get that type of synergy in your normal office, but when you get in an association or an annual meeting, you get a group and you get to engage people that you normally wouldn't engage, and it's exciting. And then it's also an opportunity to excel. It depends on where you are in your career. I've been working for civil or military service for 26 years at this point, but I remember, early on doing a poster or doing an oral presentation, and then there are people that have been in the profession for 20, 30 years that are listening to what I have to say or what I have to present, and you may just catch somebody's attention on what you're doing, whether it connects with their project or they remember you, and that remembering you may come to your advantage down the road. And I'll leave it at that. All right, what should a poster accomplish? It should communicate findings quickly and concisely. Think of it as a briefing, and one of the things that is in the word briefing is brief. It shouldn't be an extension of your abstract just put out on big paper with lots of pretty colors. You got to grab somebody's attention. I'll hit that, it says attention grabber. You're going to have, I know in this, if you're presenting in Norfolk, there are going to be anywhere from close to 60 to 70 posters per session. The one that has the least is if you happen to be in Thursday morning session, you're going to have the least amount of competition, but at least in the high 50s. So, if people are moving through, if you don't have something that gets their attention, they're probably just going to move on. Easy to read from a distance. It shouldn't be an eye chart test. Yes, you're getting words involved with that, but think of us poor people, men and women that are getting close to 50. I went to progressive lenses about a year and a half ago, and my eyes aren't quite what they used to be. And a lot of us also wear corrective lenses. I'm not making a comment, but you have a lot of people wearing corrective lenses and don't have 20/10 vision. So it should be easy to read if you're approaching from a fair distance off. It includes graphics. I'll have more about graphics in a little bit. And it also tells a story about your professional work and yourself. Yeah, and this is one thing I hadn't thought of, is that I thought about it in an oral presentation standpoint, but I never thought about it in a poster, is that I'm basically, part of myself is in that poster. When you think about an artist, any of the famous artists' artwork, if you've been to an art gallery, you're seeing part of that artist's soul and his passion, his or her passion in the work. Well, the same thing could be said about a poster, even more so than an oral presentation, because you're going from slide to slide. This is going to be up for a while, and people are going to get a look at you. So that's something to consider as you're putting your poster together. The NWA poster session environment, it is noisy. You're going to have to work with the challenge of competing against that background noise. There's going to be 400 or more attendees. I don't know the count, but I've seen with NWA annual meetings 600 or 700 people. You're going to be the same time as the vendor displays, whether it's Midland Radio or WSI or the Weather Channel or whatever folks. They're going to be presenting at the same time in a different room. There will be refreshments served near the vendors, so people are going to be eating. Uh, the poster sessions, I can guarantee you, are not going to be the first thing of the day. So, if it's in the afternoon, you're going to be fighting PowerPoint fatigue. Earlier in the day, it should be better. Attendees are going to be catching up with each other. It is a small profession, and most folks, when you've been around for a while, know each other, but you get to see each other once or twice a year. So, you're working against that. And then people are browsing for a topic which catches their interest. It goes back to an attention grabber. Within the field of meteorology, there are certain passions that people have. So, give that some thought. Again, as the environment in which you're trying to catch people's attention and get your work out in and amongst your peers. Okay, design preparations. What are the dimension requirements? Is there a limit to the size of the poster? We'll put that up on the NWA website and make sure it's there. Don't make it too big so that you're wrapped over the top, and then don't make it so small that people are looking at the black in the background versus the poster itself. And then what are the conference specific instructions? Again, look at the conference site, look at, can you download the information? Will it be put on the website after the after the conference itself? Are there deadlines to get that in? And then what are your time frame? How much time? Most of you should be notified at this point that you're doing a poster presentation. Is backwards plan. I'm a former Army officer. They told just make sure that you're leaving yourself enough time. And then most importantly, who can print out your poster? Do you have poster printing capabilities at your office? Do you have to ship it to a regional headquarters? Do you have to do it privately? And then one thing is, do not count on getting to Norfolk and going to a print shop and getting it done. I guarantee you're going to be competing against your peers of thinking the same way, and you may not have your poster ready in time for your session. So, come with your poster. If that's the best advice I can give to you is, in terms of preparation, is bring the poster with you. Okay, moving on. Some key points in the poster itself. The title should be an attention grabber. It should be something that sells, interest in it. Just think about it in akin to a oral presentation, is that if you've got a boring title, and particularly now that the NWA is getting big enough that there are concurrent sessions, maybe they'll pass you by. The same thing is when you've got this long, laborious title that doesn't get somebody's attention, that there's a certain challenge that they may go on. Just keep on moving. Look for the next area. Authors. Make sure your authors are listed. What was the challenge, and how did you approach it? Then your data or information. Conclusions and relevance to our profession. Make sure it ties into something that is just not just a bunch of data thrown out there, and then people shouldn't have to figure out what you're trying to say. What you're trying to sell. You should be doing that. You're the narrator. You're the storyteller. And then what are the next steps? Is this project continuing on? And then what can people look forward to maybe come around next professional meeting? What is the next step in the projects? Anyway, moving on. Here we go. Design tips. No all caps. Caps do not improve your argument. Keep the poster to 800 words or less. Don't just throw a bunch of writing on there, because people are not going to take the time to read 2,000 words on a poster of a size for the association meeting. They just don't have the time. And you want to get, keep it concise, keep it to the point, and make it readable from a distance. Use bullets versus blocks. You want to keep people's attention. You don't want them reading down like it's an abstract. Avoid dark or image-soaked backgrounds. One of the things that came out to my mind that's been a mistake on my part over the years is try to use dark lettering, preferably black, on a light background. Don't do it vice versa. The way people's, your eyes work and the way you perceive things, having dark letters on a light background works a lot better than vice versa. Think about all the books you've read, and I know some of you are old enough to remember print books or reading textbooks. They do have colors on it, but you've got black print on a light background. And then avoid using green and red in proximity, particularly radar velocity data. There are a fair amount of people that have color differentiation challenges. So if you're looking at radar velocity data, I know people are used to for either storm relative velocity, storm relative motion, or velocity data, looking at the classic reds and greens. Think about using the alternative color scheme to present your data. All right. Supporting the story with visuals. Graphs and chart, do they support the story, or are they superfluous? Are they easy to read from a distance, and are they easy to interpret? One thing to think about that I didn't put in the slide is, can your poster push come to shove if you have to step away, or if you put it up early in the day and somebody walks by because these poster boards are going to be ready, can it tell the story by itself? Can your poster tell the story by itself? Of course, you're going to do a better job of telling the story because you know it, and you can add context and you can add details you can't put in the poster, and also you've got the nonverbal language that comes in. But if someone walks by your poster while you're in the session, watching something else, and they're out taking a break and they're just browsing the posters before the session, can that poster tell the story by itself? All right. And then pictures, remember to caption, always give attribution as required. If you're borrowing somebody else, if you're using somebody else's picture with their permission or an image, make sure you give them the proper attribution. All right, before you head to the conference, we're moving on to the transition from preparation to going to the conference itself. Proofread the poster, you and also someone else, and preferably if you've got an administrative assistant or electronics technician or someone that's not in your profession, have them read it too, because they may pick up on something that for you is like, well, people should know it. Well, maybe they won't. You might have a geologist in the thing or somebody from earth science that may not know that specific term. Project a soft copy of the poster onto a wall before printing to check formatting at actual size. You'll save yourself the problem of, if you have to ship it down to someplace remote and getting it back and it's like, that doesn't look right. If you do it to actual size on the wall, you can do it. Then also, another idea is to post it in your hallway. If you've got an actual full size for people to preview, they can leave post-it notes for corrections. The more people that look at this prior to going to conference, the more likely that you will avoid, some errors that you may not pick up otherwise. Watch your acronyms. We live in a world full of acronyms between, for those of us who are in the public sector and then also in our scientific profession, we use acronyms. Be careful that you're using ones, make sure you explain it first and then you can use it again if you're using it in the words that you're using. But just be careful of that. And then, I've hit on this before, take your printed poster to the conference. Do not depend on local resources because you're leaving too much to chance. All right, engaging people during the session. Nonverbal language, and I know some of us scientists have a challenge with this, particularly those who don't get out of the office very often. You're not only selling your poster, but you're also selling yourself. So even if for those of us, and on Myers-Briggs, I split the middle between I test introvert, but I can be a situational extrovert as needed, particularly in the job that I do, my full-time job. But eye contact, smile, even if you don't feel like smiling, because is somebody going to want to come to your poster if you're stiff like a board, looking down, and you don't even want to give a handshake? You're not inviting. Be yourself, but try to bring yourself out that you're on show. Be ready to explain anything on the poster. Anything is fair game. Think of it as like, tax returns for a political, somebody running for office. Anything's out there to be explained if you release it. All right. People could ask questions because your material fits into their projects. Be prepared to, stretch yourself into what they're doing versus what you're doing, and maybe you can make a connection. And then be prepared to deal with people who just like to ask questions. Sometimes they like to ask questions just to stir the pot. Sometimes they like to ask questions because they like to hear themselves talk, or they're the type of people who like to ask questions. So, and try to enjoy yourself too during the poster session. Don't be stressed out. This is an opportunity to excel. Everything you've done is beforehand, and then just relax and, be of an open mind. I remember, this is an aside, but about 20 years ago, I worked as a lead forecaster at the Tucson forecast office, and there was two esteemed professors who used to spend their winters down in Tucson. One was Dr. Bob Maddox, who's the retired director of the National Severe Storms Laboratory, and the other one was Dr. Fred Sanders from MIT. And they used to pepper the lead forecasters with questions during map discussion, and some of the forecasters would get annoyed, and I'm like, I've got two of the most brilliant minds in the field of meteorology, and they're both, Dr. Sanders has passed away, I believe Dr. Maddox is still alive, two of the nicest people you'd ever meet, and they're trying to help me become a better meteorologist, and I would enjoy it. Enjoy your time with your poster session and the people that you will meet that will ask you questions during that time. So, poster session etiquette, be professional. Even if you get upset if somebody's trying to take down your the work you're doing, your research work, be professional. Don't get upset or be short. Just be professional. That's the best I can say. Leave a note if you need to step away from your poster during the session. I'll be right back, or I'll be back in 15 minutes. Wear appropriate clothing. You know what appropriate is for whether it's business or business casual. You don't want your clothing to be the focus of what you're presenting or take away from what you're presenting. And I'll leave that to your judgment in terms of what you know is appropriate in a association meeting for meteorologists, for scientists. And then again, I go back to it. Look like you're enjoying yourself, whether you are nervous or not. This is your chance to spotlight yourself, spotlight your work, and then just enjoy it. It's a great experience. Particularly in this day where travel is hard to come by, particularly for those of us in the public sector, and things that earlier in my career I took for granted that will always be around. They're not always going to be around. And while you're there, have fun. Even if you're nervous, you've got butterflies inside. So this takes us to poster number 1. This is one of Trish's examples, and I will leave it to the group to point out if there's things, and you can use the chat box, that jump out at you, things that are good and things that could use improvement. So fire away, and we'll see where this goes. We'll try this out as a give and take. So I'll be quiet and let anybody type in things that come up on slides, that pluses and minuses. So go ahead. Tricia, I cannot see the comments. Can you see the comments? Okay, folks, I think that it's possible that I cannot see any comments that are being provided by participants, and I can only see information from organizers and panelists. So I'm going to depend on Tricia to summarize if there are any comments that are coming in. Okay, Tricia, do you want to point out highlight some of the comments from participants?
Alrighty. Yes, I can see them. Let me go back to the questions. There's been a whole bunch of questions, or a whole bunch of comments. All right. I'm realizing that I should have done something like this before I did the poster. Okay, starting at the top then. Noisy, hard to organize in my mind, text a bit small. The velocity images are green and red. Yeah. Text is small. Nice column layout, but too many words in the description boxes. I like the graphics, heavy layout. Block font is a bit hard to read. Needs to be a wider typeface. Captions needed. White space would help so the eye knows the flow of the poster. No clear pathway for information. Great poster, colorful and engaging. What would be a good way to handle colorblind people looking at posters with lots of colors such as this one? That's a good question. There are actually 2 comments about that one. And I know that in the NWA meeting 2017, there's talk about doing some sort of special session for to address that. Let's see. Like that they have both synoptic and mesoscale environments. Another comment about colorblind people. Nice column layout, but too many words in the description boxes. I like the graphics, heavy layout. That's another one. We already saw that one. So that's a lot of good good comments and good feedback there. I don't think this, Rich, when you converted this to the PowerPoint, it looks like it didn't quite convert properly. I know I had some more lines and different colors and stuff on there, but the content is all still there. All
yeah,
right.
I tried. I think I may have had a different version of PowerPoint than what you had in the past, so that may have been part of the.
That was several years ago. So okay, that's good. Great. Good feedback.
Okay.
Let's
see. Trying to make sure if I can. All right, I'm going to go. This is now fair game. This is one that I did with our science officer, Todd Foisey, a couple years ago. So, you know, turn around is fair play, so you can go and attack me now. I should say critique me.
Yeah. Okay, I'm waiting to see comments pop up. Nice layout. What's the point? Headline needs to be bolder so we know what the theme of the poster is. Possibly not enough text. P2.43 could be smaller so it doesn't take away from the title. Title larger too. not sure what they're comparing or why it matters. And somebody else asked, P2.43, is that the conference number? Make versus.
That's the poster number that was assigned to me for the conference.
Okay. Make versus VS more prominent to engage the layout language more articulately. Otherwise, great job.
Okay. We've got 2 more examples, so we'll continue on. Another one from Tricia. Again, I apologize if switching from one version of PowerPoint to the other messed up some stuff for you.
It's all right. People probably don't want all the saturation in purple that I had. No, this one didn't have all that purple. Let's see. The title seems to take away from the rest of the poster. Graphic overload. Differentiate pressure levels better.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh,
And
there's
now
a couple more.
a couple
Rich,
more? Okay.
I is not sure ordering. White space can help a lot. Graphics are good, smaller font for authors and offices. Synoptic maps like those are very hard to get without being close up to the poster itself. Put author offices on one line. The name credits at the top need to be smaller font. Good to show researcher's name, but takes away from the title. All right.
Okay. And now the last one, again, fair play. It's one of mine.
Boring. Let's see. Too much white space. Too many bullets. Looks like the formatter screwed up the captioning. It may have, yeah.
It probably did. This one I have from probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
I like the simple layout. Just maybe consider making the title more bold so I know why I should stop by your poster. Nothing catches my attention. Not a clear focus, easy to walk past. A bit more of meaning rather than all bullets, which don't convey meaning very well. Okay, header way too large. Could be more graphics to tell the story. The photos should be more central, better eye catchers. Better name needed. Why the period after Richard? Oh, I guess in the right below the title.
Oh, that's a comma.
Some text not bold, so that bold text stands out. How about why Canada isn't prepared for snow? Need defined results conclusions. Are the bullets yellow? Hard to see.
Okay.
You know, we should have something like this. We should have a go-to meeting and put everybody's poster on there, and then we can get all this feedback and then adjust from there before we actually print it out. This is great.
Yeah, there we go. All right. That's the last example. So you can go look at most of the recent meetings. If you go to the NWA website, many of the posters will be are accessible from past meeting websites, and you can get some examples of things that you'd like to incorporate, things that you wouldn't do. You know, just feel free to peruse and browse and take a look at it and get some ideas. So, all right, I will open it up to questions. We do have one thing after that I'll turn back to Tricia after any questions that folks might have. And so I don't forget to say this, thank you for participating.
I have a comment for you, Rich. It says, thanks, some great pointers. Great idea. Preview everyone's poster for September meeting and give them feedback. Wouldn't that help a great deal? There's a question here from somebody. Should you have business cards with you at your poster?
You can. That wouldn't hurt. I've gotten used to, since I've been a national program manager in the Weather Service, going back almost close to 15 years ago, I've carried business cards with me, so I take it for granted, but that wouldn't hurt. That's a good idea.
What about using QR codes?
Explain QR codes.
I think those are those little codes that you can use your smartphone and it'll take you to a website or something like that?
Sure. I'm starting to show my age. Yeah, no, that would be helpful.
Thank you both for doing this. I have my REU group here with me. Oh, all right. So some of the students are going to get some feedback here. Another
Fantastic.
question. Yeah, I always thought it was good to let folks read the poster first a little first, but it can be quite awkward. Do you suggest engaging the audience from the beginning or letting them read a bit? I'd
say look at the nonverbal language from the person who's looking at your poster. If they're making eye contact like they want to engage from the start, then go ahead and engage them. But if their eyes are focused on the poster itself, they may be looking at that to formulate questions and give them the time. That goes back to reading somebody's body language.
There's another comment here that says nobody uses QR codes anymore, just being honest. Okay.
Well, I never used them before, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I missed out on that one too. Somebody says, thank you. Do non-students and non-researchers, academics commonly show posters? Would you, in the private sector, have any interest in what a broadcast meteorologist may present? Our subjects may not be about meteorological research, but perhaps about meteorological presentation techniques for better communication with the public.
Well, sure. We've got social science and decision support as part of our group, and the broadcast meteorologists are communicators with the general public, and you're part of the profession, so absolutely. And I know there are a number of broadcast meteorologists who have poster sessions on Monday and Tuesday coming up in Norfolk, and some of are standalone and some are collaborative with other sections of the weather enterprise.
All righty. We're having some more back and forth on QR codes here, so this is interesting. Another comment, be sure to proofread your poster, title, etc. on the NWA agenda when it is published on the website. That's a good point.
Yeah, and if you do find an error, because we're getting the stuff that's been submitted, there should be an email contact, and then it will get back to me, or if you're an oral presentation, it'll get back to Mike Vesio, and we can make the correction online.
All righty. Here's another question. Can you email us the presentation and the actual link to view past NWA posters? I'm having trouble finding past posters on the NWA website. The presentation is being recorded so that you guys are aware. So once I get it all set up and put on the go-to webinar website for the NWA, that will be, we can tweet that link out using the hashtag NWA web, and you can get access to it at that point. Somebody says,
now,
thank you.
Be advised that each of the annual meeting websites are set up a little bit differently based on the annual meeting committee and who is running it from an IT perspective. So there'll be potentially multiple URLs for different annual meetings.
And it looks like Trevor just tweeted out the link to the past annual meetings. You can go to last year's meeting page. He tweeted that out with the hashtag NWAWebWed, so that you could look at some of last year's posters anyway. And yeah, links to posters and oral presentation slides are tied to the agendas for past meetings. So go to nwas.org/meetings, and then you can click on each year and go look at it from there. Otherwise, there have been a lot of good comments, Rich, about your candor, and thank you for the presentation. Some really good feedback from folks there. But at this time, I don't see any more questions right now.
Okay, well then I'll stop showing my screen and hand it back to you, Tricia.
Okay. The only thing I think what we ended up going to do, we were thinking about maybe doing a live demo of the Periscope, but I think Trevor is going to put it together after the conclusion of this. So watch for the hashtag NWAWebWed. Yeah, he'll be doing that in a few minutes. So again, hashtag NWAWebWed, and he will have a link to it on there. And please go check it out, because that's one of the things that I guess the social media committee is going to be looking into for this year.
Well, one thing to keep in mind, we've been kicking around, it's been done in the past, is doing a 1-minute oral, like a quick oral presentation about your poster that can be put on the association social media sites during the meeting. And that's where Periscope is coming in with Trevor. So Trevor will have more on that at a different time through the avenues that Tricia is bringing up. But I want to make you aware of that. That option should be available in Norfolk.
All righty. Well, and I guess since we are at the conclusion of this one, thank you all for attending. I appreciate it very much, and thank you, Rich, for putting this together. This has been really informative. Like I said, I wish I'd gotten feedback on those posters before I printed them out.
Same here.
Our next webinar Wednesday will be on Wednesday, July 6th. And it'll be something from the remote sensing committee, and so hopefully we will be looking forward to something with the new GOES-R coming out, but we're not quite sure on that yet. So there will be the suspense of waiting for the title. But thank you all for joining us today. Again, this is being recorded and will be available via a link that we will tweet out at some point once I've got it put together. So again, thank you all for joining. Thank you, Rich, and you guys have a great rest of your day.
Take care.